So welcome to today's broadcast, the Small Business Rally Point. It is the 19th of March. It feels like the 62nd of March because it's been a very long week. At one point yesterday, I was sitting on the couch and I literally had to think, what day is it? Because I didn't know what day it was. So it's been a heck of a week. A lot has been changing. And I want to first start by saying thank you for joining the broadcast. Thank you to the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce for helping us get the word out about the broadcast. They've been pretty aggressive in sharing the fact that we're doing this with everybody so we can get more small business owners in a room. And thank you to Jennifer Buchholz, who has been our co-host and our executive producer of the show. She's going to manage the chat. So if you have a question for one of the presenters, make sure that you put it in the chat and she'll get my attention, light something on fire, and we'll make sure that we get you onto the screen. The other thing is, inside the chat, you'll see a phone number. If you're not inside the distribution list yet for the Small Business Rally Point, text the word BIZ to 414-240-1315. Jennifer will put that number in the chat. That way, if we're going to do a broadcast that day, I will send out to the group, hey, we're doing a broadcast, and that way we'll all be on the same page. We have a couple of great guests that are going to be on today, and I'm going to change the broadcast slightly today from the one that we did yesterday. And I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. One, I want to make sure that we're spending time just to talk with one another and drive the small business community, because it's different now than it was 8 days ago. 8 days ago, the NBA was still playing. 8 days ago, the kids were in school. 8 days ago, my dad and I were at Potawatomi playing a whole lot of blackjack, seeing a whole lot of people. And thinking about that now, it's like that feels like a month ago. That was 8 days ago. And I want to make sure that we're being positive and fired up, because if the world can change that much in 8 days, the one thing I know is that even though change is uncomfortable, 8 days from now, it could look a whole lot different. And what I don't want to do is anyone that I'm connected with to panic, have them get scared, have them turtle, because if you do that, you're going to regret it. Right now is the time to be fired up and get your word out and get in front of your best customers. Today, I've called all of my consulting clients and talked with them. I've emailed all of my mastermind partners, and sadly, I'm sorry, I've been very active on social media today, so I'm sorry if you've gotten a lot of stuff from the Pat Miller machine today, but I released my customer engagement cookbook, which Sarah Schwab, one of our presenters, will tell us about in a minute. But I'm trying to live with what I'm preaching, which is get out there and talk to your customers and the people that you want to be customers. You won't regret it. So on the call today, we're going to talk with Sarah about how to get content out there fast if you don't have any. And the other thing I want to do differently today is I want to reserve some time to brainstorm. I'm working on a new podcast called the Idea Slam podcast, where we get business owners on the air and we just create ideas for them, because right now you might have a problem. You might need a unique angle to engage your customer list. You might need a new way to position what you're doing. Whatever that might be, I want to be able to help you with that. So we're going to reserve some time at the end of the call just to brainstorm. So if you need some help, think about what you might need some help with. So with that, I think we should think about getting this on the road and talking about how we can help. And I'm going to start by bringing in Chris Grow from Third Eye Local. If you came to our night school that happened at Serendipity Labs at the end of January, Chris and Jandel presented a deep dive on digital, and they did a tremendous job. So I wanted to bring Chris on because Chris is an expert not only at digital media, but explaining digital media and putting it into terms that we can all understand. So Chris, thanks for coming on. Tell us in general, what's happening online right now and how is activity and engagement?
Absolutely. Everybody hear me okay, I hope?
Yep, sound great.
So you started by talking about what's changed in the last 8 days. And, you know, we're actually, I mean, it's literally from where we were Monday to where we are today. It is amazing. And the word unprecedented is overused right now, but I mean, just trying to keep track. I mean, I think that's what we're all doing, but we're just seeing massive shifts. What we're seeing, and I'm going to kind of speak to it broadly from our client base, as we looked over all of our campaigns that we're inspecting on a really frequent basis right now. First off, no question about it, there was a dip kind of coming into this week. And I think a lot of that was driven Jandel and I have been talking about, what happened Monday. Well, Monday was the beginning of the new norm for most people. A lot of offices began to close. A lot of people were home. So things dropped pretty considerably from that aspect. So as people were trying to figure out what was happening. One of the things we recommend to everybody right now, and if you haven't set it up, there are times where you might have to do the things that you haven't, been saying, in the back burner. Yeah, I always thought about doing this or doing that. If you don't have analytics on your website, now be the time to set it up and see, again, hopefully watch the growth that happens. But it starts by looking at the analytics, seeing what's happening. A lot of people, and again, it's really industry driven, have seen drops in traffic overall to their websites. When we look at it from an advertising standpoint, what's been interesting, so I'll try to break it up in two of the more popular mediums that you hear a lot about. So, if we talk about pay-per-click advertising, and so what that is for everybody, as is when you Google search something and you look at the top results and there's a little word that says ad next to it, that allows you to get into a search result on Google or Bing, other search engines, to have the opportunity for, if someone's searching for a product or service that you offer, to be there. So that's commonly called pay-per-click advertising. Google's word branded as AdWords. As we've looked at those campaigns for our clients, we've seen definitely a drop in impressions. What are impressions? Impressions are the number of times their ads are showing up. So what does that tell us? It just means that there's potentially less searches happening for window cleaners right now. There's potentially less searches happening for a mobility store, that type of thing. What's been interesting though, as the impressions have dropped, the clicks have dropped as well, but not quite to the same percentage. And so we always talk about pay-per-click as being intent. That's intent marketing. Someone's searching for something, they're intending to purchase something, use a service. That's why they're doing it. And intent is driven by demand. So while overall demand might be dropping right now, the people that might need that service are that much more interested, that much more committed. So we've seen impressions drop, we've seen clicks drop as well, but not as much. And in some cases, and again, this is going to be really depending on people's industries, but in some cases, we've seen some businesses increase their phone calls because it was something, they have a need or they have a product, they have a service that they're saying, hey, this is something that we need to act on right now. What we think predicting moving forward, which is not easy to do, but whether it's in a couple of days, whether it's in a couple of weeks, there's going to become these new norms that settle in. And the hope is that we all get to the point where fairly soon we begin to realize saying, okay, this is kind of the new norm. These are the time frames that we're looking at. And then as people sit around and have time and begin to say, we're coming out of this, we know we're going to come out of this, right? And when we come out of it, we know we need to have senior pictures taken. We know we want to still do that remodel project. We still know we want to do a number of the different things. There's going to be a lot of time right now to investigate and look into these things. So we actually think that, that's part of that opportunity, Pat, is that idea that as people are beginning to have time and they kind of get to the new norm and begin to saying, let's start looking forward to the stuff that we're going to do when we get out of this, that there's going to be, that intent is going to increase. We may see impressions drive, clicks drive, et cetera. So that's what we're seeing when we're looking at those two factors right now. I'll pause there for a second before I get into Facebook.
Yeah, I want to invite anyone that has a question to drop it into the group chat, and we'll make sure that we get it here in front of Chris. So if I'm hearing you correctly, overall web traffic is down, overall search volume is down, but you're actually seeing a higher percentage of conversion through pay-per-click. Am I hearing you correctly?
Not in total higher percentage of conversion. We would still say, especially this week, we're seeing overall, if we took an entire breadth of our entire landscape of clients, we would definitely see a slowdown. There's no question. Mm-hmm. There is, definitely been a drop in people saying right now, I need to get my chimney cleaned or I need to get my windows cleaned. So that has happened. And again, we would say that's happened probably within the last 3 to 4 days. When that baselines though, and that's what we're looking at from an opportunistic standpoint in terms of, when that begins to swing back.
But there's a difference in the marketing. It's not just top of mind awareness, it's that intentional marketing. So if you're putting money into pay-per-click right now, you're only paying for the clicks. So as
Correct.
opposed to mass appeal, reach, top of mind awareness kind of advertising, classical advertising, if you're using pay-per-click, that's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we have a question here from Jennifer and from Freedom Physical Therapy. Do you recommend to stop pay-per-click for all in-person services for folks that are driving business, like come to a gym, come to a chiropractor? Are you recommending that they just put that on hold at the moment?
No, not necessarily. And again, there are a couple ways we could. If let's use chiropractor as an example. If someone is going to see a chiropractor right now and their chiropractor's closed and now they're potentially trying to find somebody to do that, I guess we could understand where you don't want to send a mixed message from that standpoint, but you still got somebody who is, interested in chiropractic care and is maybe making a decision to finally say, look, we've always gone to this person, but at this point, we've always kind of thought about trying to find somebody else. So we wouldn't necessarily say, if you've closed down from a face-to-face standpoint to stop that, because there's still some things that you can do from an engagement standpoint, questions that you can answer, something you can do over the phone that you could have a conversation with that could still allow you to make a connection. And to the point, real quick, to go back to what you said before, if the campaigns are properly being run, we got off the phone right before this, for example, with one of our clients that specializes in mobility services. And we're probably, from the budget that's out there right now, we're probably going to come in 25 to 30% below what the allotted budget was this month, because of the fact that, the searches have dropped. So if you're running it correctly, you're going to take advantage of the demand that's there, and you're not going to necessarily, waste unused, dollars that shouldn't be spent right now.
All right, thank you, Freedom Physical Therapy, for the question. If you have more, make sure you drop them down inside the group chat. A shout out, you're talking about digital pivoting and the way things are changing for in-person services. Shout out to my client, Spenga Brookfield. They're an in-person studio. They're now doing group fitness lessons on video and sending them out to their members. So even though it's tough to make that transition from come see us to until you can come see us, work out with us at home, it was really smart by them. Okay.
To piggyback on that, we have a client Jandelle's been working with, who's a yoga studio, doing the exact same thing. She's been going online, and she helped her figure out how to get online from a yoga studio perspective, do classes, sign people up. And, again, let's look at it as one of the possible opportunities that comes out of this, which is the fact that, if you can figure out how to do these practices, not to say that you're, not going to have your studio at some point, but as this continues to come out of it, and if people are still wary about the size of crowds, where do you want to go and interact? If you can make these, unique business model changes right now, and find ways to still provide your service and still bring revenue in, those are the kind of things that you want to be thinking of. That's exactly what that studio did. That's what the yoga studio that Jandelle helped out is doing.
So it's a great setup. In a moment, we'll talk with Sarah about how we can think about distributing content, and we'll also have the open brainstorm at the back of the call. So if you're looking for a way to pivot your business to digital distribution, maybe as a group, we can come up with some ideas. Now, can you briefly address Facebook and what you're seeing about Facebook ads, Facebook groups, and engagement?
Yeah. Overall, compared to, say, pay-per-click, for example, we haven't necessarily seen the drop down. Engagement still seems to be there. The impressions still seem to be there. Again, on the conversion side, we've seen a slowdown. So if we're running Facebook lead campaigns for clients, definitely seeing a drop down right now within this last week for that type of thing. So what we're encouraging and kind of telling everyone, so we're staying, in the Facebook platform for a lot of our clients, but actively adjusting what it is that we're marketing and talking about. And that's what you really want to do with whatever you're posting on your page right now. If you have advertising running right now, adjust it and speak to what you're doing right now with regard to it. So a lot of what's been happening this first part of this week is just getting up, what is the message about your business, and what your message was on Monday to where it is today to where it'll be Friday. It's going to change. That's where social is going to help you stay connected with your clients from that aspect and keep that communication going. So we're seeing still a lot of engagement. The one thing we would probably say is that, as again, a lot of people are online, as businesses generally suffer compared to the personal one. I mean, everybody really wants to see what your aunt's doing or what your uncle's doing, although we may get tired of that right now. Everybody's probably going through the same thing that we're all doing and saying, we're going to pause that for the next 30 days, possibly. You may need to think about doing some boosted posts, and just, even if it's boosting to your followers, it may be harder to get into the news feeds of the people that follow and like your page. So putting a little bit of a boosted budget behind that right now could really be beneficial, just to ensure that you're staying in front of those people. And then, it's not that bad to grab a little bit of a profile around your location, targeted demographic potentially. What you're a little limited, obviously, with boosted posts, but again, it helps get that message out and share what it is that you're doing.
So before I ask you one more question, if anyone else has a question for Chris at Third Eye Local, make sure you drop it in the chat now. So as far as Facebook is concerned, to help clear the algorithm, you would recommend us boost $10, $20? I mean, how much is it good enough, do you think, to clear into our feeds?
Yeah, it depends upon your geography in terms of what you're going. We would recommend, typically based on your business, probably don't go, too wide of a geography. Try to do some targeting in terms of it. Think of it with your targeted customers, even if it's profiling by an age demographic, that type of thing. Facebook's pretty tough about some of the other profiling that you can do via boosted. So a lot of times you can't do much more than that. Depending on the business, but $5, $10, $15, you'll be able to see it. What we would say is you're not going to be setting anything right now. It's not like you're setting an event and saying, let's run this boost for the next 2 weeks. You're really looking at putting something out there maybe for a 2 to 3 to 4 day period to get that attention out there. Because truthfully, you may want to be changing that message and doing something different in 2 to 3, 4 days.
All right, so do us a favor. One of the reasons why I wanted Chris to come on is that he's always been very generous with his time, and he's always been very helpful in explaining things in a way that non-digital natives like myself can understand. So if you have questions about what you're doing and what you should be doing, Chris, would you mind putting your contact information in the chat so people can see how they can get a hold of you? And thanks again for coming on and being part of the show. We appreciate it.
You bet, and I appreciate it, and I apologize. I think what Pat's hitting at is that we are about to jump on another call with another client and everything that we've been doing on a regular basis. So I wish we could stay, but happy to help provide. I'll put the information here, and we're happy to take any questions offline whatsoever. But again, thanks for everybody joining, and Pat, thanks a ton for organizing this.
It's our pleasure, and we're happy to see that you're nice and busy. So let's move on and talk about where we're going next. So Chris talked about how we're pivoting to digital. That means you have to have something to say online. And later on in the call, we'll do some brainstorming in case you need some ideas to help you create or express yourself creatively through your digital channels. But I want to turn to someone that I trust to explain what I'm doing for a living. Sarah Schwab, she's the content creation coach. So Sarah, there are a lot of things that you offer helping someone with their lead magnets and nurturing content and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to think that big right now. If I'm stuck all of a sudden as a small business and I don't have something to say, we're talking triage crisis mode. How can we think about putting our content together and getting it online?
Absolutely. So as a content person, this has been just exciting for me to watch, because I think people who maybe weren't prioritizing content are suddenly realizing what an opportunity it is, because everyone is stuck at home behind their computers, and that is how you are going to reach people. And I've seen, so you were talking about Spenga and some of these other places, I've seen coaches, anybody who's service oriented, and can share some value through content. This is a huge opportunity. And to me, what the lost opportunity that I've been seeing is sometimes, and Chris mentioned this a little bit, you got to switch up the messaging, and I will tell you why. If you're out there talking about the same stuff that you always talk about with your business, it's going to miss people. They've changed. They're in a different place. And so one thing that I talk about when I teach people content and we decide on topics and things like that is it's about relationship building. And there's two sides to every relationship. Okay. There's you, the business, the brand, your personal brand, your whatever that is on one side, which you got to be really clear on. But then there's them, the readers, the audience, the follower, the prospective client. And you really have to get clear on who they are and what they're thinking about. And we always do this in marketing, right? Who's our target audience and what do we know about them? But right now, that is particularly important. What is that person on the other end dealing with? And that changed in the last 8 days. And it changes on a daily basis. And if you ignore what is changing in their life, then your content is gonna miss the mark. And so the topics that we want to pick, I think of it like a Venn diagram almost, is the overlap between what they're thinking about and what's going on in their life and what they're dealing with and what struggles they're having, what problems they're having, and what you know and what you can share and how you can help. And whatever is in that sort of overlap section of the Venn diagram, you can picture it, right? That's where your sweet spot is, what you can be talking to and where you can be sharing value.
It sure seems that now more than ever, you have to know exactly who that ideal customer is, because if you're targeting women 25 to 54 and they've all of a sudden got 3 kids at home, their life looks a lot different than it did 8 days ago, and your messaging might be different. So would you start first with readdressing your target audience and making sure that that's nailed down?
100%. Always.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you're cool with this. I have a couple of years ago, I created a resource called 40 Topic Starters.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's actually divided into 2 parts. It's the you topics, meaning me about my business or whatever. And then it's the them topics, or technically it's me and you my reader, you my person. And that's the one I would really focus on right now, is how can I address you where you're at? And so knowing more about it and thinking about what that might look like, I'd be happy to offer that to everybody.
That's a great resource. Thank you for that. So let's say if you could drop that in the chat before you log off, that would be great. So while we're thinking about who our best target audience is and we're thinking about what we can say, what if that takes us outside a little bit of our normal messaging? So I'm an idea coach and I want to address who my best customers are. What if I'm not talking just about creating ideas? Is that okay and understandable under the guise of building relationships? Or do I have to come at it from, do you need ideas for coronavirus? Do you see what I'm going for there?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it should. And honestly, I have this conversation with businesses all the time, even when something like this isn't going on. I think businesses should probably talk more about, things on the other side of that relationship equation, often stuck on their half. And this is my business and this is what I do and this is what I talk about and that's it. And I think there's so much more flexibility there. And the truth of the matter is people are craving ability. Tell me what's going on. If I tell you, am I breaking up?
That's okay.
If you're able to tell me a story that I can relate to, I'm so much more willing and interested in listening to that than if you're going to give me a sales pitch about, coming up with a promotion idea or whatever.
Okay. So Michael Rampolla from Spirity is making a good point in the chat about being more human and coming at it from a human point of view. That's a great piece of advice there, Michael. Thank you for that. So filling out the 40 ideas, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. What else would you recommend that we're doing right now to make sure that our messaging is on point and getting stuff online?
So that's tricky because, of course, I have a whole content marketing strategy and it's not something that happens overnight. And I talk about this all the time. Content is not like a quick fix kind of a approach. However, this right now is an opportunity for people to step up, when it comes to thinking strategically about how can you reach people online? How can you provide value online? So I'll say 2 things. Number one, A lot of the content I create is free, right? Pat, you're tremendous at this. But getting out there and providing some free value to people right now, that's super easy. There's really only, I'll say, 3 forms of what I call nurturing content. It's written, it's audio, and it's video. And so if you can write a blog article and get it out, that's often the easiest for people. I know, Pat, we've talked, you're an audio video kind of a person. So getting out in front of a microphone and just sharing, and people get so stuck because they're like, well, I don't know what to say. Well, download the 40 topic ideas, get in front of your webcam and say something, because the truth of the matter is that vulnerability is more important right now than having some sort of perfect message and being hidden, stuck in your house like the rest of us.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is some of the content I work on with people is what I call money-making content. And this is where you can actually create virtual classes, virtual training, you could be doing your work online in some way, or turn it into a course, or turn it into even an ebook. You know, money-making content can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and it can provide revenue at a time for some of these businesses that are, you know, really suffering because they're used to their revenue coming from doing stuff in person. So what can you create that is money-making content that you can offer out there right now and generate some revenue? And I will say, again, in my work, this is something I see the benefit of it even outside of the circumstances that we're in right now, because when you can offer something virtually and they don't have to come to your store, to your office, or to your location or whatever, your ability to reach, you know, more people, broader geographic area, all that kind of stuff, it's exponential. So I think it's such a tremendous opportunity for businesses all the time, but right now especially, people are looking online for value. So I heard, Chris, you know, there's some all sorts of craziness going on in terms of, are people clicking on this or that or whatever, but what people are looking for is something to do, something to learn, something to engage with, some way to do this, right? To be with people. So if you can get out there and be part of that, I think that's huge.
Well, that's great advice, and thank you for sharing what you have learned. And a lot of folks today, some on the call, in fact, saw the customer engagement cookbook that I just released today. Sarah was the brains behind that. So thank you for your help with that. And make sure you put your contact information inside the group chat. That way, if you need some advice on how to create your content and get it online, we can follow up with Sarah. And we had a couple of questions come in, Sarah, but your internet connection's a little bit shaky. So we're gonna have to have you back on some other time when your connection stabilizes a little bit. But thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom. We appreciate it. It's really needed stuff right now. So we're gonna move in just a second into the Idea Slam portion. And if you're looking for an idea, you need some advice, you've got something that you wanna try and suss out, something you wanna talk about, raise your hand in the chat and Jennifer will put it in front of me and we'll make sure that you get a chance to get into the chat room and get on screen. But before we do that, I kind of want to warm us up a little bit. So I do want to ask, are we losing everything? I see that we've lost some audio. No, we're good? Okay, I put Sarah on there. Sorry about that, Josh, if you couldn't hear me. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Before we get to the Idea Slam portion, so if you need some help with an Idea Slam, make sure you raise your hand. Let's talk for a second about great things that we've seen. I mentioned the Spenga idea, how they're putting classes online. We talked yesterday with Molly from Miss Molly's Cafe about how they've pivoted to online restaurants ordering with carry out right at the curb. But if anyone has an idea of something that they've seen, feel free to unmute yourself and jump into the chat now, or raise your hand and let us know, because we've seen some pretty creative stuff done online, and I would like to kind of warm us up that way. So if anyone has something to share, mention it in the comments or unmute your mic and jump in. Okay, terrific.
I'm gonna call out. Hopefully she allows. There's somebody who's not on the chat, so I was gonna chat her this message, but there's somebody who has an awesome idea about taking the party to the people. If the person who knows what I'm talking about wants to jump in, do it. Otherwise, I'll share it on your behalf. Trying to be appropriate here.
No, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, all right. So somebody I was talking with yesterday had this awesome idea about how do we take the party to the people? So you're a family, you're stuck at home. How do we do a drop-off party for you to basically create an awesome experience that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise, partnering with organizations that would normally be a go see us. How do we take part of what we do and send it to you? And I see she came off of mute, so I'm going to let her take it from here. Angela, that's your cue. Nope, she's not coming on. Shoot.
Well, go ahead and explain it, Michael.
All right. So anyway, it's Angela's. I need to give credit to Angela Linkle because it's the lighting lady's idea. She said, she's got the first part, right? Let me drop off some awesome celebratory lighting for your outdoor. Let me get a restaurant to do the food. And then she had one example that she was pretty cool. She knows somebody whose bowling alley had to shut down. Can we drop off a couple balls and 10 pins and you go bowling in your driveway? Like, I just thought that was super out of the box creative, and a way to make the experience of being stuck at home into something actually super memorable. And I said, you got to find people to partner with. And this is the kind of a group where I feel like some people would be the kind of people to partner with. So there she is. She's coming in on video. All right, good. Angela, how did I do? Did I do you justice? I think she's coming in on audio.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you.
There we go. You're welcome. How'd I do? Did I do that idea justice?
Well, unfortunately, I reached for my phone and I hung up, so I didn't hear anything. But I'm sure you did.
Yeah, it sounds like a really creative idea. Have you deployed that idea yet, Angela?
No, I haven't. It's such a sensitive time that I really wanted to be careful about how I approach it, and so I've talked to Mike about it and a handful of people, but really that's all I've done so far, except for there's a local bowling alley that I'm very close with, and they of course have had to close their doors, and they have food to promote, and they have bowling pins to share. So I thought maybe that would be a fun activity, and I could do a lot with creative lighting, along a bowling track. So, I haven't gone too far, but those are the ideas.
That's a great idea. Thank you for sharing. And Michael, thanks for jumping in. We appreciate that. So now let's, if someone has something they'd like to jam about, a problem that they're facing in their business, we've got some really sharp people here that are ready to help you try and grow your business. We can talk through something about engaging a customer or a problem that you're facing. Raise your hand in the chat, and that way we can bring you on screen, hear what challenge you're facing, and we can connect with one another. On top of that, if you don't have a problem that needs to be solved, but you have an observation or something you'd like to share, love just to stoke the conversation and make sure that we're all talking with one another and hearing about things that we're learning. Because as I started the chat out earlier, things have changed so much in the last 8 days. And we know that everything's going to change a lot in the next 8 days, that it's important for us to stay connected and stay close. And it's really important for us not to panic right now, because anyone that decides to panic and shut down is going to end up being a loser when things change. So if anyone wants to jump in, feel free to put their names in the chat. And if not, that's totally cool. Yes, Jennifer, panic equals loser. That is correct. Great. Abs, let's have Abby come on. So you want to talk about PPA, you're the Professional Photographers Association. What do you have to share?
Yes. So I was on here, I'll even unvideo myself.
Oh my Lord.
Whoa.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry,
Hi.
guys. Scary. So I was on a webinar through the Professional Photographers of America that they put on for our members going through this. And they basically said that we need to reach out and be the leaders for our clients to rely on, even if we're not getting jobs right now, even if, like, I can't do anyone's photos right now. Right. There's a funny meme about that, but yeah, no, I can't. So, but just to be the leader, to reach out, to see what they need, And then the other thing that they did that I thought was absolutely amazing, and they've never done this before, is they put out an entire area of education that they have on their website, and it's free to any photographers, not just members. So until yesterday, you had to be a member to access this information, and now it's for anyone.
That's great. That's a great way to engage. I wonder if they've seen more people take advantage of it since they've done that. I would imagine they would.
I would think so. And I know they've been posting on social media about it, because I knew about it before the webinar today, because I saw it on Facebook or whatever.
Right.
But
Okay.
I think as an organization, they're stepping up in a big way and helping us do the same for our clients on a smaller scale.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. It's a good idea. Let's go over to our friends from Freedom Physical Therapy. They have an opportunity for anyone in the fitness space. Can you tell us a little bit about the podcast and what you're looking for?
Yeah, we're we just started a podcast about a year ago, and we really are just trying to kind of engage potential customers or other potential businesses that we may want to work with, and just give the listeners of the podcast a chance to hear about how do physical therapists work with a bunch of other healthcare providers and fitness specialists around the area to provide treatment and to provide a healthier way of living for our patients. And so if anybody has a yoga studio or a fitness studio that wants to kind of share their thoughts on something special that they do, and maybe get on with a therapist and kind of have a little bit of a back and forth about what's the best way for people to get healthy and live a healthy life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And you put the link inside the chat. So thank you, Brady. I want to ask you a follow-up question real quick. As a physical therapist, people are coming to see you and it's obviously close proximity. Are you seeing people reschedule? Are you seeing any change in your regular workflow from what you normally would see?
So I'm not a physical therapist myself. I handle some of the stuff on the back end though.
Okay.
And I'm also a personal trainer. But yeah, we've seen a pretty big slowdown in terms of lots of fear over human contact, which makes sense at this time, right? But right now our clinics are still open. We're still seeing some of the people that don't want to halt their care or halt their progress. So we're trying to do things. We're considering kind of some online resources and things like that via our social media. We're putting out lots of content of things you can do at home to keep healthy, and maybe you're dealing with something. What are some ways to address issues that you're having at home? But yeah. We've seen a pretty big drop off compared to where we're normally at.
All right. I'm not going to let a health coach, kind of fitness coach person get off that easy, because I've had some clients, not me, but some clients that want to eat all the Twinkies and drink all the beer. I'm not saying it's me, but like, is that a psychological thing going on that we're seeing people that just want to eat all the quarantine snacks? And what would you tell us?
Yeah, I think it's people are buying more than they need right now, and it's all there. And you're sitting at home and you're kind of bored. And what do you do when you're bored? You kind of go to the pantry and look for something to snack on while you're watching TV or on your computer or whatever. So it's a self-restraint, something that you've got to practice, I guess.
All right. So give us that little coach speak then. What would you tell us to keep us out of the fridge for that extra beer or the Twinkies? What would you tell me if I was your client?
Well, I would say you probably are going to want to track what you're eating.
So no.
If you're really having a hard time with the snacks and things like that, if you have to, go on a MyFitness app and download hey, I ate 5 Twinkies today.
Oh no.
See how many calories that added up to. That might make you second guess the next time you go reach for something.
I think Brady, you're breaking up on me here. I'm not really. You're really cutting out. Now, I really appreciate you sharing the opportunity for fitness folks to get on your podcast. We wish you the best of luck. And if we continue to do the small business rally point broadcast, we'd love to have you back on sometime to talk about what you're seeing with your clients. So
right.
Thank you for sharing. I want to get to Andy Wines has something to share here in a minute. but Pixel 3 XL, they've got something to share. So Pixel, you have something-ish that you would like to share with us. What do you got?
That's still me.
Oh, it's you. Pixel 3?
I don't fucking know.
Hey.
We can't swear on this? I don't know.
Come on now.
What kind of establishment is this?
The kids are at home.
Oh, well, not me.
All right, what do you got?
No, I mean, I don't see a reason why we can't continue having meetings. I'm going to my conference rooms. I like this room. I don't understand why we can't continue having networking events, no different than what you're doing right now. Tuesday afternoon, I got a phone call for a meeting that I was at today, and it was supposed to be 40 to 50 people in attendance for a 1-hour presentation on a new product. And instead, we broke it into 3 groups. So we had no more than 5 or 6 participants plus 4 or 5 people, doing the event. And we did Zoom the whole way. And we had to bring our videographer. And obviously, there's exposure to all of us that were there in the meeting. And just so happens a meeting about COVID-19, and we actually all got tested as we walked in, just checked our temperature real quick, make sure we were all good. We're talking about a product that is hand sanitizer and other things that will actually help. But I even think about some of the networking events we have. I think there's a way to do them, and this is certainly going to change, like the other speaker said, the way we look at things moving forward. And even this event, right? You put it on, you pulled it off in all of 24 hours. There's no reason why all chambers can't do this in some capacity. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of order and discipline and cadence, but there's no reason why we can't go around the room and do a 30-second pitch or whatever. The cadence is going to be different because right now my pitch is very different than what it's been in the past. But I think the challenge is every email I've seen has said the same thing. We're done, we're dead, and now what? And that's everything from a local chamber to a major organization that ships products all over the world. So I think we have to say, okay, this is the new reality. There's no such thing as good news or bad news. This is the new reality. So this is what we're going to do different. And that's it. And yes, there's going to be massive unemployment. Yes, there are people that are going to lose their jobs. But for those of us that can, the challenge is doing things. And as simple as utilizing technology like Zoom, who knows? We might get to a point where we have a weekly or monthly meeting like this for people that are restricted. And then not only that, but have this conversation, record it, and then put it out there. Broadcast hope if there's such a thing. So that's it. I mean, you've already done it, right? Now, there's nothing stopping everybody else in the audience from doing this, right? Maybe that's the way we do one-on-ones here.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring up one-on-ones, because that was one of the things I wanted to touch on. Is I have nothing new coming into my calendar. I have a bunch of meetings, but I don't have any virtual one-on-ones, which are dead simple to schedule. And it seems like a lot of us have taken our foot off the gas of connecting with people. That was the genesis of this in the first place. But having those virtual one-on-ones are so easy, but it hasn't been top of mind for me. Have you added virtual one-on-ones at all?
Yeah, I'm convert as of my mom yesterday thought it was best that we don't bring people in the building as much. So every day I have an 11 o'clock appointment to do a tour of my facility. There's nothing stopping me from taking my phone, put it on my chest or whatever, and walk around and telling people about our facility. Now, we can't get the butler in. It's not going to be as delicious as they used to be, but there's still meaningful learning that can occur. I mean, look at you and I. We were, as of Tuesday or Wednesday, we were having an in-person meeting this Friday, and it was decided, hey, we're just going to make it virtual and be done with it. In some ways, in some ways, I think we might be just more efficient for those of us that have resisted technology, in some ways. Maybe, and when we get to the other side of this, there'll be more and more Zoom meetings, because over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to get conditioned to doing it. So I would just say, okay, hey, you know what? From now on, I'm going to make half my meetings virtual. And not just a phone call, but I'm going to make it Zoom, and I'm going to get so conditioned to it. So again, look at this as, I saw in the text, right? Look at this as an opportunity for us to leverage technology. Now on the back end, yes, revenue is hard to come by, but like Chris was saying, the people that are shopping right now are doing less shopping and they're doing more buying. So if you have a product or service that is still deliverable right now, figure out a way. I just came from a meeting and we have a product that's similar to and actually better than hand sanitizer. So my first thought was, hey, if you're going to be in a 4-county radius, I will drop it off at your house. You pay my credit card, I drop it off at your house in a bag. You flip the bag or whatever, destroy the bag, right? Because generally speaking, plastics aren't a good material for things to stick to, right? So I drop off the box in a bag. You open it up, you bring the box, or you can take the bottles out of the box at your front door and discard it. right? I mean, you and I were talking about doing a restaurant delivery not so long ago, about a month ago, about how do we deliver meals, high quality meals, right, to people. Well, we should have probably capitalized on that, got the infrastructure, because now that's what restaurants are doing. So now, again, lighting lady or different people, there's gonna be different challenges. Absolutely. So that's it. I mean, look at your business model and just say, okay, how do I do this? In my companies, there's some things I just can't do because I do them in the house. So I look at different product and service offerings.
Well, thank you for jumping in, and I'm glad to hear as a networking animal, you're getting some value out of being this Zoom call. We've got a question from Heather Hernandez from the Brothers Painting Company, and we've got such a unique group of people on this call. I have a feeling that we can come up with a great idea for Heather. So Heather, can you explain to us what you put inside the chat and the challenge that you're facing?
I'm just trying to get on the digital world. I don't really think that will be fun to record myself painting at all, but maybe that's what I need to do. Otherwise, it's, what are people going to watch us do? I don't know.
Well, what's the outcome you're seeking? You're trying to find people to book painting jobs, or you're trying to fill up your calendar later in the summer, or what's the outcome you're looking for?
The outcome would be just being visible through all this. I haven't had many cancellations or anything like that. We're still looking forward to spring. We'll see what happens and how this all escalates, but I can't keep posting, like someone said before, the same stuff over and over. I need to do something different now to stay relevant.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that is.
Something that comes immediately to mind, and we've got so many smart people in the room, please put into chat if you want to be unmuted and contribute. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is now more than ever, people are sitting inside their house looking at their ugly paint. And I hate my paint giveaway, or I hate my paint hotline, or something like that, because I'm sitting right now and I have this lovely stone wall behind me, but on the other side of my monitor is a wall that desperately needs to be painted, and the color is god awful. So maybe there's a way that we can spin up a competition.
Yeah, I have seen that I've been on a lot of Zoom calls like all of you, and I've noticed the backgrounds usually.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that office could use some color, but and I did post something like that on LinkedIn today, but it would be fun to have more of a promotion type thing or contest maybe.
And you have to think about what
who has the ugliest background, or I don't know.
The ugliest Zoom background. Ugly. That's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. Something that should be shared here. Serena had a wonderful idea. Serena, I'm unmuting you. Can you share with us the idea you put in chat? Because I thought that was really smart.
Yeah, a video for people that are at home and they're going to have to do it themselves, like an instructional video or something like that. Maybe. That's
a great way. Great way to stay in front of people. So maybe showing off a technique of how to paint a tape off a room, or how to get a certain stroke. Because I'll tell you right now, Heather, and we might have talked about this in the Breakthrough Breakfast. Serena, thanks for jumping in. I appreciate it. We might have talked about this in the Breakthrough Breakfast. You could show me how to paint all day long. I hate painting with the passion of 1,000 suns. You could show me, but there's no way I'm going to do it. I'm going to call you as soon as I can afford to do it. So that's a great way to do it, Serena. Thank you for that. Let's see, Sarah Schwab, with all the kids at home, let them draw on the walls and then you'll come paint it. That is awesome as well.
That's an awesome idea. I thought of telling parents I'll put their kids to work and have them paint their own room, just guide them through it, something like that. I don't know. It's just a matter of them letting us in too.
Yeah, I think Sarah, that's brilliant. So if you had someone do like a kids art competition and they'd marker right on the wall, and then the winner, you end up coming to paint their house or something, or end up getting the $200 deposit down or something like that. I can feel through the screen Michael Rampolla having something to add. Michael, I'm going to unmute you. Do you have something that you want to weigh in on this?
Oh, I was just a practical question. Do you do exteriors or just interiors?
Yes. Exteriors and interiors.
I'm being practical, but you stay outside, and I think you could potentially crank up that business hardcore right now. I love all these other very creative ideas, because here's the thing: even if you don't actually do a lot of these things, you being relevant and being kind of clever and being a little offsides will make people pay attention. Now you've got eyes, and now you can talk about services. So do your own kids, do some, find some close allies to do some of these things, and make fun content. And Sarah's nodding emphatically on me right now. Have great content, get eyes. Now you've got cred, and you can talk about all the other services you can do. I love all these contests as well. I mean, there's a ton of stuff here, and nobody else is seeing this stuff coming. Like does anyone
want to volunteer their children?
Yeah, do we have a volunteer? Sarah, can your kids draw on the wall? Is that cool with you? The other thing I was thinking is, and Michael touched on it with exterior, there's a social distancing thing you could talk about as well. That if you're painting the outside, there's no inside contact. So while I can't come in and see you face to face, that's okay. I won't even come inside. It's exterior, it's social distance. You can maybe have some fun with the messaging on that as well. But yeah, Heather, I don't know if that's helpful at all, but if anyone has anything else to add, please jump into the comments and share. Help Heather out, because Brothers Painting is a great story of her and her kids, and we definitely want to wish you well. So thank you for coming on. Yeah, what do you got?
I was just going to say for Heather, so here's a couple things. First of all, I hate painting, and I just had to repaint my bathroom after the guy who I hired to paint my bathroom did not do a good job.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
So I've done it recently. Not fun. And I especially hate edging. So in eWomen, one of the things that we talk about is give them your juiciest stuff. Give away all the best stuff that you have for free. Because, and what Sandra Yancey does is she did this whole thing on podcasting, like why it's relevant and all this stuff. And she's just giving you all why you should do it. And then she's like, if you want to do it yourself, here's all the stuff you need for it. So your equipment list, like what's your preferred brand, all the juiciest stuff if they want to do it themselves. And here's how. So here's how to edge if you don't want to tape, right? But from there, she gets to the last part. If all of this is more than what you want to deal with, when you're ready, call me. So she gave you all the stuff, everything you need if you want to do it yourself. Pat's like, I'm not going to paint the damn wall. That's why I'm sitting in front of the brick one.
Yeah, there's a value in showing somebody how hard it is to do what you do.
And I haven't done that yet, so yeah.
And
getting forced to do that.
Angela, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Recently, we have done some painting, and there's actually an app that you might want to recommend, and it's called Paint Tester, and it allows you to take a picture of your room and then through the app on your phone, play with the colors. So maybe recommending that they play with the colors and then call you when they're ready to move forward. But this app is really user friendly, and it really did a great job. So
okay, thank you.
That's great, Angela. Thank you. We've got one more idea here that we want to get on. Let's bring CEO Content Marketing, Claire Lauer. Claire, can you share your idea here, because that's really, really good.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like a free virtual consult, have the person on their phone, maybe show the room, and then send you the measurements. Like in my office right now, I think it's 10 by 10. So I'd have to say, oh, here's my room. It's 10 by 10. Like, what would the approximate quote be? Just a way to get leads in the door.
It's very digital too, something that you could not only distribute, but then turn around fast with a digital delivery. Without
and then maybe offer,
like
if you book, if you book now, you get something, X% off.
COVID 19% off if you book right now.
Yeah. And then you'll book the date later, but if they put a deposit or book now, they get some kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you, Claire. I appreciate that. We have someone who's logged in only as owner. So I don't even know who this is. So hello, owner. What was your thing that you were saying about contractors not showing up? In the chat, we had someone named owner. There he is.
Can you hear me, Pat?
Who's that?
This is Dave Monfrey.
Oh, Dave. Hi, buddy. It only says owner. I didn't have your name. So what was your idea that you wanted to share with Heather?
It's just my wife and I flip houses, and there's just real difficulty with contractors keeping their word and showing up, and people really appreciate when people just do what they say they're going to do. So what we find is, you know, some contractors will say, if we don't start on our day, 30% off. You know, things happen, but just people are really tired of contractors so many times not keeping their word. And just playing on that, I think, would be very helpful.
Like a guarantee, a delivery guarantee. Heather, do you address that at all when you talk?
That's a very real thing that happens. I hear about it a lot. In fact, it's a sad thing because I'll show up and, oh, thank you for even coming. Well, sorry. So then, you know, and it makes it a little harder for me to have to recover from other contractors. But again, you know, that's what we do. We do make a promise and we do show up and deliver.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Okay.
that's a real thing.
All right, great. David, thank you for contributing, and also Heather, thank you for sharing. And we're all cheering for you. And it's nice to get everyone's feedback. Our producer, who's been working hard behind the scenes, Jennifer, I want to have you come on and talk about what you have on your mind, because I think it's something we're all kind of feeling right now. Can you share what you just shared in the chat?
You bet. And I actually got this as a request from a couple other people in the group, and especially Michael and Claire have both indicated this, so I don't want to take up too much time. Interestingly, because my business is corporate Microsoft training, while we first went through like the first couple days, and it really has been a day-by-day situation, the first couple days were, oh crap, everybody's canceled. Today I was supposed to be in back-to-back training sessions with 3 different companies that would have just been like a good chunk of money just today. And I'm like, oh, money is evaporating.
Mm-hmm.
That said, as of yesterday, I started getting the calls saying, holy crap, our whole workforce is going remote and they don't know how to use the technology that we're providing them. Can you step in? Which, so now I'm swinging, thank God, right? Like I'm swinging towards opportunity, but I don't know what that all looks like. And so I'm reshifting my services and I'm repackaging everything for me. And I also have this heart where I'm like, I know what I need to make or want to make, or probably what I value. And if we weren't in urgent times, would price it at. And yet, like one of these contracts is a government. And I'm like, oh, those are taxpayers that are now going to have to pay, like all the things, all the feels that go along with doing business. And so like doing the right thing for me, the right thing for my business, the right thing for my clients, it all feels like, I don't know where that Venn diagram overlaps so that I can go in comfortably and confidently and in good conscience. So that was just my version. Michael, I know, was bringing this up too.
So let me ask a question then. Do you think the people that are literally sweeping the floors at City Hall worry about that? Or the people that delivered the Snickers bars to the vending machine, or the printer that's printing the things for City Hall? Do you think other people are worried about like taking advantage of the government contract? Or are you inventing, oh man, I don't want to, geez, it's such a bad time. Like, are you kind of projecting that in your own head a little bit, do you think?
Well, obviously the answer is yes.
Yeah. So why would you do that? Because you're feeling that way. And Abby and I had to talk about this. Sorry to out you, Abby, but we had to talk about that as well, which is our mindset right now as small business owners. The line of failure and success is so thin, it's easy for us to project that line to everyone that, oh my gosh, I need to get business. I better discount, or I better go grab market share, or I bet they're having a hard time too. Now think about where your money comes from. When you have a government contract, when you, especially workforce development, there is soon to be literally more money than God in that sector. Like seriously, we're talking $1 trillion is going to be injected into the economy for people to have job skills and grow. You're going to have like a blank check soon, practically. So that's my feedback at least, but I know that there are other people that want to jump in. Michael, do you have anything that you want to add on that?
I heard this put very well to me, and I think the idea comes down to, well, I think what you said, Pat, was nailing it. Your situation is not theirs and vice versa. And the projecting thing is very insightful, and I think is really getting at what we're all dealing with. The second part is, if you've been positioning yourself for, that this is the service I provide and somebody else needs that unique value prop right now, why are you denying them the value that you can provide? Why are you holding back, and or not getting what you have built so long to achieve? And I'm not going to get into market forces and political forces, but things happen, and some businesses are going to be ready to serve the need at that time. And we're servers, right? That's what we do. So you not serving that need, if you're not, here's the thing, if you're not careful, in my mind, from a pure like business strategy standpoint, if you don't price it right, you will go out of business because you will be giving it away and not getting paid for it. And there goes your time and your equity. And if you're if you end up upside down on what you promised and what you gave away, you can't serve anybody, let alone take advantage of the growth that's going to come once we get to the other side.
You'll be busy all the way to bankruptcy, which is not a thing. Please,
not a thing. Right.
Don't be busy until you go broke. That's not what we're going for. And I think that comes back to where we started the call today, and what I want to send as a message, which is it's time to be aggressive and it's time to be in front of your customers. And it is so hard right now to not have that small business mindset, because just because we're small doesn't mean that we're in danger. And that's another thing that I had on my notes that I didn't talk about. So just give me 1 second here. But I am hearing and feeling, and maybe it's because I'm a tiny business too, I'm kind of annoyed with everyone's quest to save small businesses. And small businesses, we have to make sure, and like, hey, the intent is there, and I'd love support as much as anybody else, and could I use it? Sure, I'm not saying I don't need it. But sometimes people talk about small businesses as though we're not competent, or we're not smart, or we're not good, or we're not multidimensional. The people on this call and some of the people in my network are the smartest people I know. And they are doing things every day that's just amazing. So I'm just kind of annoyed and touchy right now with the idea of, small businesses, we got to save them. Well, okay, I get it. But you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm just ranting a little bit here, but it kind of bothers me. So we've got some great comments in the chat here. Garrett's got one. Small businesses employ 59 million people, 50% of the workforce, which is awesome. Thank you for that. And Jennifer, did we answer what you were kind of talking about here? Is there anything more that you want to comment on?
No, I just think we all kind of are feeling that idea. And I think even with having all these different businesses here, it's like, how do you give, right? There's people I want to give to. Government might not be that right now, but there's people I want to give to and be of service to, and that's certainly my peers in the group kind of thing. And then there's business that I need to do because it's the right thing to do. But I think for anybody, I don't know, is there something to be thought of survivor's guilt related? I feel like we've gone through some of the grieving process, right? And when you're feeling some of the people around you are like, my business is just effed. Sorry, I did not go all the way into the full cuss.
Oh, you're not Andy. That's okay.
Right. I tried to. Sarah just made a really good point of giving is what content is for and services is my business. That I like that distinction. I think that's really helpful. I need to get my arms around it in a way that I feel comfortable and confident, and I appreciate the feedback and the comments from the group. Again, Pat, I just want to thank you for doing this. This matters.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. It's fun to have everybody together. Before we get off this topic, I want to let Taryn weigh in because she made an insightful comment in the chat. Taryn, can you share what you shared in the chat and expand on it slightly?
I can. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I don't know. I jumped on after a late meeting this afternoon, and so technology was not my friend as I hurried to join you. But Jennifer, what I was saying is thinking about it from a supply and demand type perspective, right? Right now, you have a value that they are willing to pay for, and holding to your value is not an integrity issue. The integrity issue would come from charging a surplus at this point. So there's no need to discount your services. Yep. Hold true to your value.
That's gold right there. That's worth the entire hour on the phone. Taryn, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
Glad I could jump in. Yes.
Yeah, you're the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, so listen, we've gone on for an hour, and I'm really grateful that we've all had the chance to collaborate and talk with one another. Open at this point if anyone has anything else that they would like to share. If so, can you raise your hand in the chat or we'll get you on. But it has been really fun to do this. And I hope, and I'm planning to do this again tomorrow at 3 o'clock, just to check in with each other and say hello and make sure that we are with each other. We talk about Brookfield Chamber, who's helping put this on. When we get together at Brookfield Chamber, that's not just doing business. We're not just passing business cards. And this morning I had the chance to be on 620 WTMJ, and they asked me what small business owners are going through right now. And the first thing I thought of to say was, people are feeling lonely because people have these intense calendars full of one-on-one meetings and networking meetings. And for a lot of us, we feed off of that. And if you're like me or like Jennifer or Abby, I got nothing but Zoom calls right now, if I have those. So I guess my parting message would be, stay calm, connect with your network, be there for others, give when you can. And I would love to keep this going. So let's talk tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Help me expand this. And I'm not saying, hey, promote the show. I don't mean it that way. I just mean let people know that we're doing this. Because as you saw here, the more people that we got into the chat and the more voices we heard from, the more fun it was, frankly. So Jennifer put into the chat there's a phone number. Text the word biz to that phone number, and you'll be on the text distribution list. And I'll text you before we go live. So if we do one tomorrow, you're going to text to remind you to come in and do it. So with that, we're going to end the call for today. A big virtual hug and high five. Thank you so much for being on it. Thank you to the Brookfield Chamber. We also got some help from Local First today to promote this, help from WTMJ as well. Big shout out to Jennifer Buchholz for being our executive producer, and for everybody else that jumped in. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and that's today's Small Business Rally Point. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach of Small Step Solutions. See you tomorrow.